Welcome to another mobile edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and this guy over here, Ed Wallace. We are two retired New York City police detectives with 20 plus years of law enforcement. If you like all things true crime related from a police perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. Today we have breaking news. The FBI, the U.S. Marshals Service, the local Manchester Police Department are on the scene of a location in Manchester, New Hampshire, searching for Harmony Montgomery. Now, we have covered this case extensively. Harmony Montgomery, as you know, was missing for over 2 years and then reported late in the December of 2021, the previous year here. And we all were just mesmerized by this case because so many failures happen from DCYF and all of the folks who are in place to protect our vulnerable young ones, the children. Ed, how you doing this afternoon?
Well, I'm very excited about the new developments. Otherwise, I'm doing fine. So I got my scratch there. Other than that, Kara's good. Kara's good.
We were live yesterday, and Ed was being mauled by his beautiful new dog.
She definitely wants attention.
Yeah. Let's dive right into it. But before we get into it, I want to say a special thank you to the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and all the folks who engage positively in this community. You guys are what makes it great. I want to say thank you to the replay viewers, the moderators, and Ed and I love the engagement that you guys give us with the comments down below in the comments section. 644 Union Street is the location of interest. It's in Manchester, New Hampshire. The FBI, the U.S. Marshals Service, and local law enforcement are on the ground right now searching that home. That's a multi-dwelling building, 3 floors, it looks like, and has a basement. This is a previous home that Harmony Montgomery at one point lived with her father and with the step monster, Kayla Montgomery. As you know, they did a search at their other previous location, which was a private house, and that turned up no results. This case is over 6 months old since reporting. They have not been able to account for her location and where she was in between quite a few years, almost 2 years. They figured somewhere between Thanksgiving of 2019 was somewhere around there. A little bit after Thanksgiving of 2019 was the last official time frame for Harmony Montgomery. And fast forward to December of 2021, she was reported. Note, as you know, Crystal Sorey, her biological mother, she wrote letters to the mayor and to the officials in the town where she was residing last and demanding that they do something. And at that point, they did do something. And I know you and I were talking today. We watched aviation footage at that location, 644 Union Street in Manchester. What was your take on what you saw there? And then we'll go to the video.
All right. So first of all, it's a full-blown forensic investigation. They have on-scene command. The FBI has their mobile vehicle there. The FD is supporting them with the tent in the backyard with air conditioning. You could see them coming in and out of the back and the front of the location with what appears to be evidence. And they put them under the tents. They started documenting them. There were evidence tents on top of the evidence, and they were documenting them. Then it looks like having worked with the FBI before and having seen what they do in times like this, it appears they went to a store and bought a refrigerator, had it delivered to the site. They took the refrigerator apart on the street outside the front door and then hauled it into the second floor apartment. And my guess is to store biological evidence, evidence containing DNA, things of that nature. So it appears that somewhere in here, maybe behind a wall, because I did see what appeared to be pieces of sheetrock being examined. Maybe she was secreted in the cavity of a wall. And
Right, but we also saw footage from the backyard. Josh, if you could play that first clip, and then Ed and I will get into what we saw in the backyard. There was that crawl space underneath the backyard. When we play this first clip, on the second clip with the aviation flyover, we'll be able to point that out to you guys. So there was activity front and back of this this multi-dwelling location, and we saw in the two front entranceways there was FBI and personnel in both spots. So let's just hear what the reporter has to say. Go to Amy at this point, Josh.
Sean, Manchester police began quietly securing this section of Union Street last night. A few neighbors were displaced, and very early this morning, teams of law enforcement started to arrive here. The focus, a second-floor apartment where Adam Montgomery used to live. News 9 first on the scene as law enforcement sets up this large-scale operation. Here on the scene, the Attorney General's Office, U.S. Marshals, FBI, Manchester Police, and Hillsborough County Sheriff's deputies. Around back, Manchester Fire has a large incident tent and large white piping going into the building. Before a green privacy tent was put up out front, News 9 could see investigators unpacking large scopes. News 9, the first to confirm this is part of the ongoing and urgent search for Harmony Montgomery, missing now for more than 2 years. She was last in the physical, legal custody of her father, Adam Montgomery, who lived here with his estranged wife, Kayla, last year. Kayla now out on bail. Adam remains in custody on weapons charges. The operation is drawing onlookers and well-wishers, some shouting their thanks to police as they drive by.
I'm a little excited, and not excited in a bad way, but in a good way. Like, we're hoping that we can get some justice for Harmony. And we search. So I don't know if you guys heard, but we search a couple times a week for her.
It is clear that investigators will be here for several more hours. We will remain on the scene here as well. We will bring you updates online and on air starting this afternoon at 4 o'clock.
So there you have it. Ed, we saw a lot of activity in the backyard there. The red fire department command post tent with air conditioning looked like there was piping and black tubing going into the rear yard. This is going to be our aviation shot. Josh is going to let that roll because there was no audio to this. It's just a helicopter flying over. Ed, some of your thoughts on the working of the lower level, like sub-basement, and the second floor?
I don't know that they are working in the basement. I did see in one of the flyovers an FBI, what appeared to be a crime scene investigator in a tie-back suit, whether it's most likely it's the FBI, come down the back staircases to the backyard with a 5-gallon bucket of material in it. Now, this could be debris from breaking the walls. This could be a number of different things, but maybe they have inside that tent a sifting operation going on to go through what's in the buckets. That's, based upon what I've seen in my training, that's the best. I in my experience, tells me what they're doing there.
Yeah. And Alicia is saying, are scopes used to look behind the walls at Ed Wallace?
When the reporter said that, I wasn't sure what she said. Large scopes, like a borescope that we sometimes use to, like drill holes in cavities of floors and walls to peer inside of there before we make entry.
Right, and it bores the hole, and then the fiber optic camera goes in.
Yeah, we bore the hole, and then we shove the fiber optic tube in. They're not that big, so I'm not exactly sure what she's describing, what type of scopes. They could be using X-ray devices. Maybe she's confusing the scope with an X-ray device to X-ray the walls. They could be using thermal imaging devices to scan the cavities and trying to see, with these thermal imaging cameras, you can see different heat signatures, and obviously you can tell the difference between an electrical line and a body that's deposited behind the wall that is decomping and creating heat and gases.
And so forth. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Hey, Ed, on what we're seeing here, and folks, what you're watching is recorded aviation for a helicopter or local news with no audio. They hovered over this location for hours. For this one was about 44 minutes. But Ed, from what you're seeing here, this is the front of the location. This size operation, is this something random tip, or would this be some kind of solid lead for the folks who don't know the police business, Ed?
Now, this is a solid lead here. They got solid information. They got the cooperation of the new apartment owner, and they're creating damage there. And it appears like underneath the white tent, there might even be, looks like a sheet of sheetrock is there. So after they create this damage, they're probably going to repair what they did. So, you know, an operation like this takes time to plan. Okay. You know, they might have got the tip, went out there before, spoke to the new apartment dwellers, and then got permission to go in, did some preliminary look around and saw something of interest, went back, formulated a plan, got all the troops and ducks in a row, as we say, and got all the troops out there with all the equipment they needed.
Right.
And then, you know, as they formulated their plan and enacted their plan, they realized later on, hey, we need a refrigerator. They went out and purchased the refrigerator, had it delivered. They disassembled the refrigerator and brought it through the front door, and apparently brought it upstairs.
Josh, could you stop it there? Josh, could you just stop it right there? So this is a look from behind the building. So that red tent is a fire department piece of apparatus. Fire department provided that to the investigation. That is the area that we were looking at, because it appears that there is some type of crawl space underneath the building. Now, Ed and I, we didn't see anybody come out from underneath that crawl space, but we certainly did see investigators come out with 5-gallon buckets. And usually in 5-gallon buckets, you're putting decent pieces of debris or dirt, right, Ed?
Yeah. In excavations, absolutely, yes.
Josh, you can let it roll. This is a massive on-taking. You talk about that they evacuated this location. They had the tenants and anybody that was occupying that dwelling evacuate and get out overnight. They set this up overnight, and now you have residents in the adjacent buildings filming things. I saw some stuff on Facebook before we went live. A woman was filming from the backyard, looking from an adjacent building. You know, again, these are people who are interested in what's going on in their neighborhood, and I get that. The reason that they're sheltering all of this from cameras and things of that nature is in case they do have a recovery. And I want to just go one step further here and say that we have no information that's telling us solidly that Harmony Montgomery's remains were recovered. I want to say that again. We do not have any solid, substantial intel that Harmony Montgomery's remains were recovered. But what we can tell you, and Ed, you could correct me if I'm wrong, based on our professional experience in the law enforcement field, that this type of operation doesn't just happen to start looking and poking around at random places. This is a very targeted search with good information, and they are in there looking at specific locations, but it looks like it's a massive operation. This is a lot of personnel. Ed, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and it looks like they're finding stuff. So the odds are more than likely they found what they were looking for here. And that's my professional opinion on what's going on here. And you don't have this scale of an operation, if there's nothing there to recover.
Right,
okay.
Right.
So, but you know, there's questions in the people are in the chat asking, about the refrigerator. As I said earlier, for those who are just tuning in, the FBI could have determined, look, we're going to be here a while. It's best to store this genetic material, biological materials in refrigeration, which is true. Okay. It's probably, it looks like it's hot there. Sorry. It looks like it's hot there. And the people in Tyvek have got to be sweating and so forth. And you don't want that genetic material, biological material, body parts, or whatever the case may be, if there is a whole intact body. Right. You don't want that.
Here's a great thing that you and I spoke about before we went live.
Right. How come we didn't smell decomp?
Right. Let's talk a little bit about that, Ed.
Okay. Now, if they had the wherewithal to properly seal this body up in the appropriate sealing material, plastic, It's possible that the smell of decomp never got out of the packaging, or if they could have,
if it's an
airtight
packaging.
seal, hermetically sealed, or whatever the case. There. I don't want to give away secrets here, but there are things that we can purchase, that any law-abiding citizen can purchase, and remove the air from the packaging and seal these things up, and no odor emanates from that.
Right, and that's what we could be looking at here.
Yeah, I mean, they could have done a really good job wrapping this body up. And therefore, it didn't create that. Now, I mean, was a cadaver dog in here before? I mean, there could have been certain things that were done in here before this operation that led them to believe, in addition to maybe getting a confidential informant or getting some kind of information on a wiretap, or one of the two parties involved gave it up.
Right. And I would lean towards Kayla Montgomery, because she has a lot to lose. Investigators could have came to Kayla Montgomery and said, hey, listen, before we find out something here, if you don't come clean with us, we're going to charge you full tilt. If you agree to cooperate with us, and this is where deals get brokered, as long as she didn't have a part in the actual killing of Harmony Montgomery, if she was present or had knowledge of it, she's still going to stand charged with some lower line charges. But if they worked out a deal with her, this is through the prosecutor's office, if they worked out a deal with her, if you cooperate and you tell us under no uncertain terms where Harmony Montgomery is, and she did in fact do that, which could have led the investigators to this location, then that could be something that we could hear about. So we shall see. We don't know. This is us talking about how we've seen things happen in the past. Brandy, thank you so much for this, becoming a member. And I want to say thank you to, there was a super chat that I missed. I'm so sorry. We highlighted it. We put it up on the screen, but I don't have access to it anymore. There was also Brandy B, who sent in a $20 super sticker. Thank you, Brandy B, for your support. Oh, that one is close, so I could put that one up. And a new member, Brandy B, as well. Thank you for the super sticker, and also for becoming a channel member. Ed, this is, again, breaking news. Everybody's talking about it. There's tons of YouTubers that are going live with it. We've seen scenes like this in New York City, where we've had operations of this magnitude in apartment dwellings like this.
Yeah, I've been a part of them.
Yeah, and you've been a part of many of them. How common is it where you could get a I've never seen cooperation like this, where a whole entire building vacates for this kind of search. If that happened in New York City, we'd have to call a level 1 mobilization to get that to happen. Picture asking a housing development to everyone to exit their apartment.
Now, this is typical New England architecture, and this, what we call here, is a railroad flat. It's 3 levels of apartments, and there's only windows in the front and windows in the back. And it looks like from the front of it, there are 3 separate entrances in the front, and they look like in the back, the upper 2 floors have exits out to the decks that lead down to the backyard, and then I couldn't clearly see if the lower
it was those wooden decks, and then it looked like in the back, Ed, there was a crawl space underneath the house. So it wasn't on they evened out the actual structure, but they had to put the back end of it up on. It looked like, to me, from my view of the overhead shot here, there were stilts in the back, or some
the topography. It looks like the topography of the land, the elevation, if you will, is higher in the front than it is in the back. So the back is lower. The backyard is lower than the front entrance. So, potentially you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There probably be about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Maybe about 9 apartments that they would have to have vacated, 9 or more. So those families cooperated with law enforcement, which is, law enforcement obviously is very thankful for. And, they left that location to give law enforcement the access and ability to stage and set up, and so that they wouldn't impact law enforcement's work as they do this. Now they're going to go in, they're going to photograph, they're going to sketch, they're going to take notes. They've located the wall or location that they suspect Harmony may have been in, and it looks like now I see the back there. It looks like there is at least 2 entrances on the back lower level. Yeah, so and they're going in and doing a thorough crime scene investigation, painstakingly taking things apart and documenting as they go, and then removing the debris, searching the debris. Because there could be body fluids.
How much analyzing will they do on the scene? Is it just preliminary, and they'll take it all back to a lab?
Well, see, if the FBI is going to run with this, and all this evidence is going to the FBI lab, the evidence response team of the FBI doesn't really do much in the form of field analysis. They just package everything up and ship it to Quantico to the FBI laboratory in Virginia.
And how long would it take if they found, not a full intact skeletal structure of Harmony Montgomery? Let's just say, for argument's sake, they found, pieces of sheetrock or pieces of building material that had her DNA or so forth. How long would that take for them to analyze that and come up with an answer, if that in fact is the case?
Okay, so the way it looks like they're doing it here, and again, this is because the FBI is lab centric. We do things a little different in the NYPD. They'll package up the sheetrock, okay, if it had stains on it or body, and there's testing and alternate light sources and so forth that you could use in the field to possibly help you say, okay, this might be body fluids. Yeah, let's take this and let's ship it off to the lab. And there's also presumptive tests. There's luminol, if you're looking for latent blood material, and there's other blood tests that could be done. If you see reddish brown stains that you don't know if it's blood or not because of the length of time, it could be in the wood, it could be in the sheetrock, it could be in insulation and whatever. So they examine those things, package it up, rush it down to the lab, and now the lab has to extract this material out of the sheetrock paper, out of the wood. And then once they get it extracted, then they'll do some amplification. It's usually STR, short tandem repeats, amplifications for genetic markers to get the DNA so that they can conduct an analysis. Now, hopefully by this time, they have comparison DNA to check against what they're potentially finding here.
Right.
They have Harmony's toothbrush or some hairs or materials from the mother and the father. Maybe they got a court order and obtained these things from them. So they already have the genetic material to compare to the parents to see if, in fact, whatever they're finding in this location matches
up.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, I want to say thank you to Jamie Bailey. She sends in a $10 super chat, and she says, "Thank you, Dutyron and Ed Wallace, for everything. Your knowledge is greatly appreciated." Thank you, Jamie, for your support. Always. I appreciate it. Another super chat came in from Antonio. Let me see where that one went quickly. Antonio says, "Thank you, Dutyron and Ed. This is terrible development and tragic and heartbreaking as a former member of the service. This makes me sick." Yeah, man. Thank you for your service, brother. It is heart-wrenching, but we have no confirmation as of now of anything. I want to go to another piece that Josh has queued up for us. This news clip is going to show us just a little bit more from down on the scene. It's a male reporter from one of the local affiliates there. Just wanted to play this for you. It happened, they reported this about 40 minutes ago. So Josh is going to cue that up and play this for us. Channel 5 News affiliate. Go ahead, roll with that, Josh.
A short time ago, FBI officials brought in a refrigerator to this home. Investigators have been here since 5 this morning, according to neighbors, as they search inside this home where Harmony Montgomery once lived. Investigators from the FBI and U.S. Marshals Service swarming this Manchester home this morning as part of the ongoing search for Harmony Montgomery. New Hampshire's Department of Justice announcing this operation is focused on 644 Union Street, where Harmony's father Adam and his estranged wife Kayla Montgomery used to live. 5-year-old Harmony was last seen in 2019, but police didn't learn about the child's disappearance for more than 2 years. Crews in Tyvek suits appearing to focus their investigation today on the second floor of this multi-unit building as neighbors anxiously watched on.
I heard an alert on my phone and I looked at it and I just was like, oh my God.
Kristen Rosati is part of a team of volunteers that have been searching for Harmony since April and are hoping authorities have made a break in the case.
Which is what we always hope for every day, like please something.
So far, officials have not said what they are searching for or what information led them here. But among those desperate for answers, Harmony's mother, Crystal Sorey, telling News Center 5 in a statement, "We hope this is one step closer to finding Harmony and getting her the justice she deserves." Now, Crystal Sorey also telling News Center 5 that her intuition told her that something had happened inside this house and that she shared that feeling several times with law enforcement. Now, Adam Montgomery is currently in jail on charges he assaulted Harmony before she disappeared. Harmony's estranged stepmother was charged earlier this month with lying to a grand jury, but no charges have been directly filed in Harmony's disappearance. Today's investigation comes just 1 week after Harmony would have turned 8 years old. Reporting live in Manchester, Matt Reed, WCVB News Center 5.
So there you have it. There you have it, folks. Trevor Lee sends in a $10 super chat. He says, what evidence, Ed and Ron, would you expect aside from remains that point to her being buried or killed there? Also, what items do you expect them to use to compare her DNA? Ed just talked about that, to since she's been missing so long. Ed, you want to take that?
Yeah, so, all right, it depends on how she was killed. If she was strangled, manually strangled, then it's going to take the autopsy and forensic anthropologist to examine the neck area, the bones, the hyoid bones, and so forth. If she was blunt force trauma, injured or stabbed or gunshot wound, that will be, again, found out upon autopsy. She's probably, if she's been in this wall for over 2 years, okay, badly decomped, maybe even mummified, who knows what the case may be. So, these railroad flats have no central air conditioning. Okay, they just have an oil burner and that provides heat. And if you look at these windows, you'll see air conditioning units in the windows, right? So, these places heat up. And so, and the lack of moisture and so forth. So there could be some mummification here of any remains that might have been in the wall. But sometimes the plastic bags, if she was wrapped in plastic bags, slows that mummification down because mold and mildew and bacteria and some fungus will build up inside of that with moisture from the body inside the bags. And then you may have sloughing and other decomp you have to deal with. So your injuries may not readily be able to be seen with the naked eye, and it has to do a thorough forensic pathology examination back at the morgue. If she was bludgeoned inside these apartments, now typically these apartments have tongue and groove hardwood floors. I don't know these apartments per se, but I know the standard architecture when they were built back in the 50s and 60s. You might try your best to clean up stuff, but guess what? There's still evidence of it there. Because blood is liquid, and liquid seeks low points of gravity, and it goes places that you can't see normally with your naked eye. And your attempts to clean up the surface of it, you may get what's on the surface, but you may not get where it flows. Okay, like under wall boards, under moldings, in between the tongue and groove of the floor, and things of that nature. Okay. So that could still be present. So they may have to take up the floor. So there's also hair and fiber evidence that could be there inside of the wall. And if they get the hair and fiber evidence, and if it doesn't have the root, then the best they can do is mitochondrial DNA and match it back to Harmony's mother.
Right. I want you to talk about that in a second, that DNA that you just described, because a lot of people they're not privy to those big words. Nobody has the knowledge that you have when it comes to this stuff, Ed. Kataja, thank you so much for the $2 super sticker. And thank you, Mama She 13 for becoming a member. And Antonio, welcome, former member of the service, to the membership. Thank you so much for supporting. Ed, could you just explain that a little bit, what you just said? And somebody asked what your education level is, how many years of college, because everyone is thinking you're a smarty pants. So if you can, let everybody know
eight
about
years,
that.
8 years of college. Okay. And actually, yeah, 8 years of college. And then the police academy, and then non-meticulous courses and forensics all over the world. But that said, what was the question?
You got about 20. So you got about 20 years of college.
I don't know about 20 years of college.
All right. Yeah, I was jacking up your time. So about 10 years. The DNA that you were just describing. Some people might get lost in the translation.
Okay. So you have nucleic DNA, which is from the nucleus of cells, and that contains both your mother and your father, genetic markers. But with a hair, in the root, you have nucleic DNA. But if the hair doesn't have a root, because, remember what I said, Ron, the average person loses 75 head hairs a day. And
where are mine?
You're beyond average. Okay. You're above average. Anyhow, the hairs fall out without the root. And then when you're examining the hair without the root, then in the hair itself, what you're going to find in terms of genetic markers are what's called mitochondrial DNA, which means it's only the genetic markers of your mother.
Okay. So it's just the one side, the mitochondrial.
Inside the shaft of the hair is just your mother.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you for that explanation. So what we're watching here is an overhead helicopter shot of the actual location that is being searched, 644 Union Street. That is in Manchester, the former location where Adam Montgomery and I believe Kayla Montgomery and Harmony Montgomery lived for a very short period of time. I do not have the specifics. I don't want to make a guess at it, but it just said for a short period of time in the article that I read. I was on the phone this morning with Brian Enton from News Nation. They are having a report on this later tonight. I don't think Brian is going to be on the scene. He's in a different location in the United States. But him and I were on the phone this morning talking about this case. It broke at about 6 o'clock Eastern time. And as soon as I got notification from the local news station, when I cover these cases with Ed, what I do that you guys don't know behind the scenes is I get involved with some notifications from some of the news agencies. I tried my best to reach out to a local reporter. I introduced myself and I asked he or she to please, if they could, let me know if there's advanced notification of any type of breaking news in the cases that we cover. That's what any good detective would do, and I do that. I don't always get cooperation from all of the news locations, but they are kind of friends with us. We work hand in hand. So I got a notification at 6 a.m. this morning that this was going down. That notification that I saw at 6 a.m. was from last night, because they started with this prepping of this location and the news was privy to it. They just didn't put it out there. So I got this stuff overnight. I woke up in the morning. I saw that there was this activity there, and I knew right away that Ed and I were going to be on this and we were going to be covering it. So what we have here is a large-scale operation from the FBI, the U.S. Marshals Service, the local police, and probably some state agencies as well. State police probably are involved here as well. The attorney general's probably looking at this, district attorney's office, their investigators. Ed, correct me when I go a little bit off on this, but I kind of know what goes on in these things. It's a multi-agency approach here, because somebody put in the chat, will Adam Montgomery and Kayla Montgomery's charges be upgraded if there's a recovery here? I would say unequivocally yes.
Yeah, it's normally not the case for the FBI to be involved in a case like this. I know there are 2 states involved, Massachusetts and New Hampshire.
Right.
So what I'm guessing, I don't know if there is some kind of cross state lines, federal crime involved here. I know there was fraud that was associated with the food stamps and welfare and so forth being collected after the child had been missing for so long. But that wouldn't bring the FBI in. I'm guessing that the locals asked the FBI for assistance here, and they came in. Now, I also understand the U.S. Marshal Service is here, and I don't see that connection. I don't understand that connection.
I was scratching my head because usually we have the U.S. Marshal Service when we see a fugitive from justice on the run.
Right.
Maybe the reporter misspoke on that, but maybe there's a third piece to this that we don't know of that is a co-conspirator involved. That's where we start to intertwine a possibility of the U.S. Marshals with a possible suspect or subject that is outstanding that we do not have knowledge of. Now, I don't see them holding that back from the public, because if there was somebody out there that they were looking for, they'd maybe want to put it out there, unless it was something that they wanted to keep kind of close to the chest, and it was somebody that they were that they're onto. I don't know. The U.S. Marshals don't get involved in these types of things. Now,
they lived at this location last year.
I don't have 100% confirmation on it. Karen Bookout sends in a $5 super chat, and she says, "Can CPS be charged?" We're getting into areas that are outside of our realm. If CPS did something with intent, criminally, and they intended to do something criminally, yes. I would say civil suits are more of something that would be up the alley. But thank you, Karen, for that super chat and that good question. That's actually a really good question. Ed, any thoughts on that?
I don't think you can charge a whole agency. Maybe if there was negligence on the part of an individual investigator, maybe.
Right.
But
that's what I was alluding to.
It seems there were, CPS from two different states that kind of dropped the ball on this. Right. Once Harmony left Mass and went to New Hampshire, the Mass CPS should have notified New Hampshire CPS and passed the baton on to them to keep track of Harmony. Don't know all the specifics here, but you would think that's the way it would have worked. But somebody dropped the ball on these welfare checks and things of that nature. To not know that somebody was missing for 2 years.
Listen, if you're new here and you're just stumbling across this live stream, we have a whole playlist, Ed and I, on Harmony Montgomery. It's linked in the description. There's a playlist on all of the videos that we've created on this case. And we talked extensively about the failures of the DCYF. As a matter of fact, I had a former DCYF worker and a Florida DCYF worker. We did a dedicated live stream to the injustices and some of the horrible things that went wrong with the Harmony Montgomery case. Ed, I'll let you take the highlighted question because we already covered it, but maybe New Hampshire girl came in late. She says, why would they bring in a refrigerator into an apartment?
Okay. Well, they probably bring it in there to store biological evidence. The only other thing that popped into my head is maybe they're seizing a refrigerator as evidence and they're replacing it. But I doubt that. I doubt that's very much.
Right. So, I mean, it could be for a multitude of different reasons that we don't have any knowledge of. We would just be guessing at it. But, the chances of Harmony Montgomery being found in there with, recently killed, I don't see that. I think that the refrigerator is there for obvious other reasons. It's not to preserve a human body, where you would see a refrigeration truck come up and take human remains to keep it from further decomposition. Another $10 super chat comes in. Well, go ahead, Ed.
That might, there are times that we have done this with body parts. Like at the Staten Island landfill operation, we had refrigerators and refrigerator trucks, and we put body parts in there to store until such time as we can safely transport them to the medical examiner's office, because there were going to be a delay in getting them to those facilities. So we would store them, even though they weren't refrigerated when we found them. Once we found them and identified them as human remains, we refrigerated them immediately in their packaging until we can get it there. So I don't see any trucks here that say coroner or medical examiner's office. I don't see any participation by the medical examiners here in the field. I don't know. They could be there and I just don't see them.
There's no visibly marked vehicles. They could be unmarked, but there's a lot of people that are the rumors are all over Facebook and all over Twitter that, medical examiner vehicles or things of that nature are there. We have not seen them. We got no confirmation of that. So that too, you have to worry about, people jumping to conclusions here, because we don't know. If there's a press conference set, we don't know anything about it. They haven't said anything. So Cecilia, thank you so much for that $10 super chat. But it's unknown to us right now. Go ahead, Ed.
If there is in fact a body, if poor little Harmony is in fact found there in some way, shape, or form, the body parts are all the jurisdiction of the medical examiner, coroner, not law enforcement. So you would think that they would be there because they have to take control of that, and their death investigators have to go on scene, take photographs, and do their on-scene death investigation as well. So I would imagine they're there.
Yeah.
If that's in fact the case.
Right. So we will find out more probably tonight. There should be some type of press conference by the Manchester police chief. We saw him. He was quite vocal in giving out information. So the Manchester police chief will be probably on the air at some time or another, giving an update sometime later on tonight. So people are saying, Sherilyn Schofner is saying, I saw WMUR, and that's the local station there, that there will be an update scheduled at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that could be very well true. Thank you for that information, Sherilyn. I'll look for it and I'll post it in the community post.
Well, if in fact this turns out to be what I think it is, this will be one of the few cases that we've worked on that we've gotten remains back, and now we can lay these remains to rest and give them the proper burial and funeral that they deserve. It's still heartbreaking, that somebody would do this to their own offspring.
Yeah. These people, anybody that's involved in any type of situation like this, these are evil monsters. And I say it all the time. I use that word quite a bit because it does take somebody that's very evil to do something like this, to not just a child, but to just any human being. Anybody that's capable of taking another person's life shouldn't be walking around on the face of the earth, should be either locked up for the rest of their lives or taken off the streets or taken out somehow, some way. But unfortunately, evil walks amongst us on a daily basis. You never know who's around you. You don't know who has done what and who is capable of what. So that's why we always talk about being aware of your surroundings and always not, don't bury your head in your phone. Always keep an eye on what's going on around you, because you never know what's standing right next to you, So, Ed, I think we covered this quite extensively. This is the overhead shot from a helicopter from Channel 5 local over there. The search for Harmony Montgomery continues in New Hampshire and Manchester, 644 Union Street. If you're local, try to stay out of that location. Give them the space that they need to operate. I know people are going to sit and watch and gawk and look. It's just human nature. But you got to let these guys and gals do their jobs. It's a multi-dwelling, multi-resident dwelling. They have the place, completely. There's nobody in it. Nobody's going to be able to get in it. They're going to be there for hours, and I don't know when they're going to wrap it up. We don't know what, exactly what is being recovered in there, but the bottom line is we watched for 44 minutes, Ed and I. We watched this entire video, and we saw quite a bit of activity coming in and out of that location. Right, Ed?
Absolutely, absolutely. I was staring at it, and I was giving you the play-by-play, and it turns out later, what I was saying, hey, it could be this, could be that, and then you listen to the news conferences, and it turns out I was right about a lot of it.
Right.
So it's
so I want to tell our audience, again, Ed, it's a fluid, active operation. We don't know what they're coming across or how they're coming across it. They might already have what they're looking for, but it doesn't appear that way because it seems like they're continually going in and out, and they're doing a lot of work. Look at the things that you and I thought were carpets, and came out and it was a stiff piece of sheetrock.
Sheetrock,
like.
yeah, sheetrock, yeah. And the one thing I do know about the evidence response team, because I trained them and I trained with them. Like I said, they're a lab-centric organization, so they don't really allow the evidence response team to do some of the standard things that the NYPD crime scene unit does in the field. They'd rather you just bag everything up and get it to their lab, and then the lab will do it in the lab. So that said, I know they operate on a lot slower pace than we do in the NYPD crime scene. So, and they throw a lot more people at a particular crime scene. It's like in the NYPD, something like this may have 2 to 4 crime scene investigators tops at that scene. They throw a whole team, and everybody's got an individual assignment. So it's a different operating procedure.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about tonight's live stream. 7 o'clock. It's going to be an early one. We are going to have Candace Cooley. That's Dylan's mom. She's going to come on. We're going to talk about EquiSearch Midwest. We got them on board. Sunday night, I had an hour-long conversation with Candace Cooley. She explained to me the frustration that she was having. She asked me if EquiSearch was available to come and help out there in Nevada and Utah on the border. I got on the phone with Twyla. I talked to Dave Rader, and we worked it out. Texas EquiSearch, that was Tim Miller, Dave Rader. They got together, and I believe they're flying Rocky Pass to Reno from Nevada up into Utah. And him and Twyla, they're going to be doing some drone work up there. But tonight at 7 p.m., we're going to have Candace Cooley live with us, Dylan's mom. She's going to be talking to us about what's going on with her son. And we're also going to have, at the end of the live stream, Twyla Cisco, the search coordinator. She's going to join us just for a couple of minutes to talk about EquiSearch's involvement Midwest in the search. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to keep you updated on, Kayla Montgomery, Harmony Montgomery, Adam Montgomery, what's going on, if there are upgraded charges in the Harmony Montgomery case. We will only know after they give a presser, and the press conference may or may not give us information. Ed, you know this from previous work that you've done. These things take time. These scenes take a long time to process after the fact. So we may not hear anything yet tonight, but we may, just get some updates from the police chief.
Yeah, most likely. So I'm seeing 4 p.m. I'll be searching the internet to see if I can get a live stream of what's going on up there.
Perfect. I wanted to say thank you to the replay viewers, the channel members, the new subscribers, the folks who leave comments. I encourage you to leave comments down below for Ed Wallace and myself in regards to Harmony Montgomery. Leave a comment down below in the comment section. Thank you to the replay viewers, the moderators, and everyone who has made this possible, including Josh over in California, our producer. He's behind the scenes doing work for us when we do these mobile streams. Tonight at 7 p.m., this live stream will redirect to that 7 p.m. live with Candace Cooley. And we are going to be live with you guys, talking everything about the Dylan and his situation of how he went missing. We're going to have a great interactive conversation with the mom, and we're going to talk about some of the things here. I'm looking forward to it tonight. Joey Brooklyn is on the air, and I appreciate you being here, Joey Brooklyn. That's the director of security. He's our main man. I will see you guys tonight at 7 p.m. Ed, you got any final words? I always like to look for final words from Ed.
Well, we're going to catch you tonight, but remember what I always say, right? Stay safe, stay prepared, watch your six. We'll catch you later tonight.
And as I always like to end these, thank you, Ed, for that. God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, but especially all victims of crime. We send prayers, strength, and positive vibes to the family of Harmony Montgomery, the good side of the family, the people who do love her. And we send strength and prayers to the people of Manchester, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts, the good people who are watching and following this case. They need us now more than ever. We'll talk to you soon. Peace and love, guys. Thanks for watching.